understand something, find the answer. One door will open a window to another door. One thing leads to another. There was a time in the world when Great Britain had so many colonies all over the world that there was a saying that the sun never set on the British Empire. Simply because wherever the sun was shining, they was in charge of something there. Now, when you go from Great Britain, which is located in the western part of the Western world, and you move east all the way over into the landmass, you're in China. So they call China the Far East. That's where that term comes from. The area in the middle, Southern Asia, North Africa, that's midway to China. China's the Far East, North Africa, Southern Asia comes the Middle East. The term comes out of colonization and domination. And most people today who use the term don't know where it comes from.
Absolutely.
A frat brother of mine called me, he was over in the Middle East, over in Iraq. And I made a joke about, being part of the colonizers. And he got offended. I said, no, the very fact where you said you were, tell me what you're doing. Because that's what the term means, It means it's a term of colonization. But we use terminology every day, and very often we don't study, the things we read about and don't really know what was being said. That's what I'm handing it on.
It's like like Maryland, a lot of your streets, like Prince George was just that county, Pamunkey. A lot of just all the they came, they a British term,
Yeah. The British were the first ones in this part of the country, and many, Prince George, Prince William, Prince Frederick. These are all, people who were famous in Britain. I think it was Grandma mentioned the English royalty. Well, Queen Charles Sophia Mecklenburg von Strelitz was a black German princess. She's the ancestor of Prince Charles. Was it George G.M. James?
J. Rogers.
J. Rogers.
Yes, sir.
J. Rogers did several books called Sex and Race.
Yeah.
One of the things he did, he was a Pullman Porter. Again, you don't have to be a PhD scholar. In fact, very often,
books out, y'all.
very often it's good if you're not a PhD scholar, because you don't have any prejudices. He was a Pullman Porter, and he would go to Europe on his vacations and go to the museums and libraries, and he researched the ancestry of almost all the royal houses in Europe, and showed that all of them had black blood.
Think about that now. Think about what
Powerful, man.
Dr. Smith is saying. Think about all of it now. Think about the origin of things and how the idea got into J.A. Rogers' mind to look deeper into something. Most of us here now, we're from families who seem to have no imagination, no quest or thirst for knowledge over and above what they've already been given. In my family, I'm an outcast. Not in the full sense of the word now. I'm not trying to say that they just push me away, but they don't want to see me coming. Too many books, too many new ideas, too many disbeliefs in what's going on now. One of my cousins calls me the Antichrist. And I love her. I mean, she has cerebral palsy, I love her. I mean, if she used that brain she has, she could overcome a lot of her handicaps. But no, she's locked into the church. Without question.
I'm gonna bring you that book. What is it? British Inroad to
Please,
Royalty. I'm gonna bring it.
One of the things J. Rogers did, he studied names. Once once you have the keys, everything opens up.
I promise you this, to bring this so that you could,
The rules of radicalization.
the rules of racialization.
Wow.
That book is unknown primarily.
Class,
and there's so many
identity,
of
and
them.
governance.
It is very important in all of our quests for more knowledge. This white boy writes about his people in a very, very objective way. Not a subjective way, but like most people. Very objective. And he talks about how the rule of racialization was created Nathaniel Bacon's rebellion, and how that affected the changes that the top people in the colonies were going to have to do something about people coming together. The Native Americans, as the country spread towards the west, and how people who were out in the far reaches didn't have protection. They had to make strategic alliances with other people, natives as well as escaped
servants.
African slaves.
And white indentured servants
Yes,
too?
sir, white indentured service too. All of that went into the making of what we now call tiredly racism. We really don't know, in general, it's exactly what it is, because it was created along with the religion and another book that you can't find it, The Religious Instruction of the Negro. I have that at home too.
Yeah, I got that too.
You got that
Right,
too?
It's very difficult to find. They don't,
And most people read it and they don't get it. They don't get it. They don't understand how Thomas Purse could put that book into circulation and put it out in 1842 to go around to many, not all, of the plantations to tell them what to do with your slaves. The Willie Lynch letter was already out there somewhere, and people need to stop fighting over whether it's authentic or not. Don't worry about it. If it fits it, read it. Deal with things where they are. Don't get so emotionally caught up. Well, I don't believe that. All you're doing is sidetracking yourself. We all have emotions. Man, I'm telling you, I know I got mine. But as I go along, becoming more and more objective is the only thing that I seek. More and more knowledge. I can't retain that much of it anymore, but I'm trying, The idea is not to be bogged down with the ignorance and the madness that has been forced on us. Here we are believing in a Trinity that our ancestors made up. Our ancestors made it up. And sometimes maybe you need to go into that a lot deeper. Osiris and his wife and Horus and everything.
We're gonna do all that, yeah.
It's amazing the things that, and listen, all mythology is not bad. Don't get mad at people when they have mythology. Try to understand their reason for it.
And what does it say?
Yes, what does it say?
Very often it says something about them.
And the amazing thing is, none of it gives you a final, definitive answer. If that's what you're looking for, folks, you don't have to live past these ages that we are. You have to live past
It's
this.
just a journey. You just enjoy
It's
the
a journey.
ride.
This title is The Rule of Racialization. I'll spell that for you. The Rule of Racialization. RACIALIZATION. RACIAL, racial. IZATION.
By
Steve Martinot. MARTINOT. Steve MARTINOT.
can you give us the ISBN number off of that?
Oh, yes, the ISBN number. ISBN 1-56639.
What is that? I'm sorry.
This is the ISBN number.
What is it?
ISBN, everybody know what that is? The ISBN number is a number used to categorize publications. Each publication has a specific ISBN number. So sometimes if you're trying to find a particular book, it's easier to find by ISBN number.
What's that number?
1-56639 981 5 1-56639 981 5. Get this book, Echoes of the Old Dark Land. In this book, he talks about the basis of all the myths and stories that led to what has now become Christianity through Judaism. He even goes so far as to breaking down what we see as names of Jewish characters into the Egyptian roots. What am I talking about? You're watching TV. The commentator says, Hezbollah announced today that they're going to do A, B, and C. Who is Hezbollah?
According to this government,
Part of
it's a
God.
more
Yeah.
terrorist group.
Something like that.
A terrorist group according to this government. The word Hezbollah is not really a word, it's a phrase. It really is Hezbollah, the party of God. That's their name. Sometimes in English, what's presented to us as a word is really a phrase in another language. Mafia, my family. So what he does, what Finch does, is take words in the Hebrew and approach them as being Egyptian phrases. Of course, you got to know how to speak the Egyptian language, and interpret what the name means in terms of what it would be in Egyptian. For instance, Adam. Adam in the Hebrew is equivalent to Atum, A-T-M, in the Egyptian. Who is Adam so far as the Hebrew is concerned? He's the father of mankind. He's the first man made in the image of God. He's the completion of creation. He's the name of all creatures. What do the words break down to in Egyptian? ATM means the father of mankind, the first God image of man. The root TM in ATM means completion, and the cognate DM means to name. So the phrase in the Egyptian that we now see as Adam describes the character both in Egyptian and in Hebrew. Makes sense. If a few people come into Egypt, the most populous, important society in the world at that time, they're wanderers coming in, 70, 80 people. Very soon, everything that they are is Egyptian. It's like two families of Vietnamese come here on the boat. They land in Houston. 10 years from now, they got a southern accent. Yeah.
Yes.
That's an
Right?
important point.
I've seen some on television.
10 years from now, they got a southern accent. You're subsumed into the larger culture. So what Finch says is, let's assume these folk came in. Let's look at the language they were confronted with, the terminology, the customs, and let's see if they now express that in their own way, in their language. I need to look back a second. Let me do one or two more.
They used to make my memory come back. Oh man.
The religious instructions of a Negro. Who wrote that?
The name Cain, C-A-I-N in English.
That's bringing in.
In Hebrew, it's Q-A-Y-I-N. What's it mean? What the person do? Strikes down his brother Abel in the first murder. Let's look at it from the Egyptian standpoint. Similar word O-N/Q-E-N. Q-E-N means to strike down. So the name Cain literally is a name describing what the person does. Noah.
I was hoping you would get to that with Nuach, yes sir.
Noah, N-O-A-H in English. Nuach, N-U-A-C-H in the Hebrew. He survives the flood and is the master of the flood. He's the master cultivator as the grower of grapes. Thank you. He imbibes and becomes drunk from wine. Those are three things associated with Noah. In the Egyptian, it'd be N-U-A-K-H, very similar, or N-U-H. N-U, we've talked about it here before. That's the great flood. That's the great waters out of which we all come. That was before anything else was.
Absolutely.
AKH means garden or irrigated fields. NUH, that variation means drunkenness. New Ark is the flood irrigating the fields. So that what we're now able to see is that the very terminology that becomes Hebrew
Yes.
comes out of the Egyptian language. We're now able to begin to see how things move down and trace through history. Okay? And Fitch does this all along to help us understand better. I got one over here I want to do. Oh, Abraham. Abraham in the English is Abram, A-B-R-H-M in the Hebrew. Who was he? The first patriarch of a branch of Semites that includes both the Hebrews and the Arabs. After this stay in Egypt, he established the circumcision as a sign of a covenant with God. In the Egyptian, it can be broken down into three syllables. Ab, Ra, Him. Ab in Egyptian means desire or will. You know who Ra is, right?
Yeah.
That's God. Im means fire or light. Hem means servant. So Abraham is the desire for the light of Ra, or the servant of the will of Ra.
Serve to the will of God.
So that once we move into Egypt and start studying in depth Egyptian symbology and how they integrated everything together, I think this would be about the best book for us to start with. I'd like each of you to get this book, Echoes of the Old Dark Land. You got a month between now and the next session, by Charles S. Finch III.
I got to dig around the house because I got it. I got to dig it.
He signed mine.
I told you to dig it.
Sign mine too.
You let them well.
Yeah, he back in town soon.
What is he affiliated with the university or anything?
Doctorate.
Um,
He's MD.
Or is it another?
MD.
he's an MD, crucified, right? If Calvary was the place that Jesus was crucified, wouldn't that be the logical place to go for Good Friday services? Wouldn't you want to go to where the deed was done? How many of you have ever seen a service Good Friday, Easter morning, that to be placed also Easter morning to go and celebrate? Who's ever seen a service from Calvary?
Live from Mount Calvary.
Live from Mount Calvary. Dread Forward, Jesse Jackson, everybody be on the turn.
They be
Push
fighting
yourself off the
for
mountain, trying to
They be fighting.
close the cross. Think about that. All the Christians go to church tomorrow. Some will be starting to sing about Calvary tomorrow. They all realize they've never heard where it was. Charles Finch explained to me where it is. Calvary is not a place on earth. It's a place in the sky. Right around now, December, things are getting shorter and shorter and shorter.